2 years ago, when we were starting seeds, I was starting everything on shelves under grow lights in our living room. My family was very gracious in tolerating that. But when we built a garage a couple years ago, we decided it was time to upgrade out of the living room into the garage. So we have a couple of rooms in the garage that we call germination rooms, or the grow rooms, which we use these to start all of our seeds for the season, for vegetables for the high tunnel, flowers for our U-pick flower operation, and then some other things just for fun. But the walls are covered in a PVC material that's just interlocking. That way we don't have to worry about moisture getting behind the walls. We can control the temperature with window units, which we learned the past few days. When it's below 20 degrees outside and you're pulling humidity out, the condensation freezes and stops the AC unit. Yeah, that was, we learned something there. So we put all our seed trays under grow lights, and another thing we learned the hard way is that when you're germinating seeds, your lights really only need to be a couple of inches below the, a couple of inches above the seeds so that you don't get long and leggy stems. We do a combination of soil blocking because it allows us to customize what we're doing. If I don't want to start an entire tray of something, then I can just do the soil blocks. And the soil blocks also conserve space, so I can cram a lot more in here at one time. But even with that, I'm already running out of space. So after we get things germinated, then we'll move it down to our cold frame, which is a place where we can harden things off before we put them in the high tunnel or the field. And we'll show you the cold frame next.
So what do you do when your wife grows a lot of seeds and you don't want them in your living room and you don't have a greenhouse? You build a cold frame. So this simple cold frame, we built 2 of these this year out here on the farm to store and to start to harden off our early season plants. We've got some flowers in here. We've got some, I think, cabbage and broccoli and lettuces and things of that sort. And eventually we'll be transitioning these to our high tunnel later at the end of next month. Actually, some will be going on the ground this next week.
Next week.
But the construction of these is fairly simple. Each cold frame has 7 sticks of 1/2-inch PVC, and I've got 5 sticks of 2x4 pressure treated lumber. And typically I would like to get greenhouse plastic. We didn't plan ahead this year, so instead we just used 6mm clear plastic that we picked up from our local hardware store. As far as the construction of these, it's pretty straightforward. On each support or each rib, we've cut 2 equal length sticks on one side, 2 on the other side, and then just putting a short horizontal member across the top for the ridge. My original design came to a point, but I wanted to span this a little bit more to help get some of the plastic stretch over, and it also helps with the curvature for the pipes. As far as anchoring this to the ground, each cold frame, we'll open this one up so you can see the inside. For each frame, the 2x4, we just drilled in holes equally spaced along the bottom of the 2x4 for the PVC pipes to go into. The simple construction, just a pressure treated 2x4 laying horizontal on this side. On the ends, I turned it vertical to give us some support so we could actually kind of enclose this thing. And if you look on the back side, it's just got 2 simple hinges anchored to a 2x4 on the ground. That just allows us to open and close with ease. And the 2x4 that's on the ground is just anchored to the ground with 2 12-inch rebar stakes, just anchored to the ground. And so when we close this thing, it just goes on top of this 2x4 on the ground. There's the rebar hole. And then we're still working on a better way to do this, but right now just using a simple piece of scrap wood, angle off on each side, so that you can open it up.
And you just used a screw to...
Yeah, just a simple screw. There's probably better ways to do this, and I'm sure if you want to put in the comments, give me some ideas. I would love that. But it's an easy way to open it up when it gets warm. At night when it gets cold, we close it up, put the babies to sleep, and give them some water.
And we do have heat mats on under the trays here. So on cold nights, that's a little bit of supplemental heating. And we put landscape fabric down to keep weeds down. So, and we also did hang a heat lamp in there just for a little bit of supplemental heat.
But if you're not ready to go big with a big greenhouse and go for the infrastructure costs for that, consider a small cold frame. It's a good stopgap measure for a smaller number of trays, and it helps you to get your plants ready out of your living room mainly, which is great, and gets them outside and starts to get them hardened off, ready for planting season.
We're editing to add one extra thing we had to add to the cold frames. Sometimes you live and learn.
Well, good afternoon. Well, last video we were showing you how we put together these cold frames. Turns out with these nice coverings of plastic, it turns into a balloon. And so the other day we had some wind gusts come through, and it caught this sucker like a hot air balloon and ripped the lid backwards. Actually, this one over here, it actually destroyed and broke some of the PVC piping. So to fix that, we're like, okay, what do we gotta do? We just did a simple string and a carabiner clip with some eye bolts and hook them on, so that way when the wind comes, keeps it from exploding backwards. So if you, I would recommend you put some anchors in place if you decide to build these.
Live and learn.
Live and learn.